Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes is an amazing show, and it has a lot of villains to explore with. And in this list, we are gonna count down the top 15 of the greatest bad guys that have ever been appeared on this show as of now. Starting up on our list is Surtur, the Lord of the Flames. Now he would have been way high on the list have we saw much more of him in the second season, but they were literally only trying to plant the seeds for his eventual Ragnarok, which would have happened in season 3 have it not have been cancelled. But it would have been such a great thing to see, with all the flames and demons, and seeing Enchantress redeem herself from the temptations of Surtur's powers, and it would have been really amazing to see in season 3 of Earth's Mightiest Heroes have that not have been cancelled. Not to mention, so much build-up happened for this character and there was little to no payoff, but we don't have the creators to blame, we have only whoever cancelled the show to blame for that departure. But nevertheless, Surtur was a great villain. Out of all the villains that have been featured onto Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Annihilus is hands down the most intimidating and scary creatures to ever appear onto the show, mainly because he was able to kill majority of the villains that were featured in the negative zone, and he's pretty much unscary threat for the show, because he's essentially kind of like a doomsday type character where he just kills everyone without any second guesses, and he's also an immortal pretty much. He's able to control a lot of creatures and pretty much massacred 42, therefore making him one of the darkest and sinister characters to have ever featured onto the show. And that is quite an achievement if you ask me. Now this guy has to be one of the most badass looking characters to ever feature on the show. I mean, this appearance alone gives him high points to be in the list. But not only that, he was able to infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. and get a lot of stuff right for Hydra. And also he has a scythe on his hand, automatically making him quite an intimidating threat. And like Annihilus, he's probably one of the more darker characters onto this list, because he looks essentially like death itself. Not to mention he is a cyborg, like I said, and he's pretty much a dangerous threat for the whole Avengers. Not even Iron Man's able to take him down very easily, and saying that is pretty much a hard achievement to accomplish, and that guy does it right flawlessly. The Grim Reaper. All hail. I'm not gonna lie to you all, but Ronan is an incredible badass character in the comics, and seeing him onto this show, I was quite excited, but alongside his first appearance, outside of that, he was quite underused, and he had so much potential. But nevertheless, when you look at his introduction onto the show, he was capable of beating up half the Avengers, and he was also able to beat Miss Marvel quite easily, which is quite an amazing feat because Miss Marvel is quite possibly one of, if not the most powerful Avengers to ever team up with the team, and it is quite an accomplishment. Not to mention his characteristics was done pretty flawlessly from what we've got of him onto the show, and he was very intimidating from what we've got of him. I know, Kang is a pretty popular character onto the show, but I honestly think he's a tad bit overrated. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but he's just a little too overrated. Though, give credit where credit is due, they did give him a motivation as to why he wants to rule the world instead of being just this one-note villain, and I can give props to that. And also he was quite a threat for the whole Avengers team and had his own story arc where he almost took over the world, which is quite an exciting arc, I'm not gonna lie. Again, I don't hate Kang, in fact it's far from it, I really enjoy the character, I just think he's just too overrated for his own good, and if we had like another story arc with him, then he probably would have been high on the list instead of having a one-off on the season 2 with the new Avengers. If there was one villain that could easily make this season have a finale that is very satisfying, then Galactus was the best choice to have for a few reasons. For one, he is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, which automatically makes him a high threat for not just the Avengers, but every other hero that exists into that universe. And he was the perfect villain to finish the series with. Now, he would have been higher on this list if he had more like build up to his appearance onto Earth, and two, if he had like some dialogue, because honestly he just felt like more of a monster than he did a character. Not to say that he was wasted or anything, his presence was very well liked, it was just that a little more of the character would have been nice, is all I'm saying. Here we have the face of Hydra himself, Baron von Wolfgang Strucker. Now, he is incredibly an interesting character because he is pretty much, well, the leader of Hydra. And not only that, he took it over from Baron Zemo and Red Skull of all people, which automatically makes him a high threat. And he was so close to getting the Cosmic Cube from MODOK and AIM. But if it weren't for like the conflict that happened between him and Captain America and MODOK, then he would have got what he wanted and Hydra would have reigned supreme. But despite that though, Strucker had pretty much like Grim Reaper and Viper and all the other lieutenants, which makes him pretty much a master manipulator and a genuine mastermind. Here we have quite possibly the main villains of pretty much the entire show. The Skrulls were pretty much there since almost the very beginning, infiltrating the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., pretty much everybody. And the whole universe got literally wrecked because of these creatures. And they were very, very smart. And I have to give props to the creators of this show, because the original storyline, Secret Invasion, was not very good in my eyes. However, they adapted that storyline and made it very interesting and gripping, which is quite surprising coming from a kids show like this. And if you can do that, then this pretty much shows you right there that this show has a lot of power and good writing, which makes it a very good show and makes them an incredible film for the Avengers. I was so surprised to see Red Hulk appear onto this show so soon, and I'm very glad that it did happen, because he had such a major role to play with within the second season, and he did so much with the character done right. Like, for starters, he was part of Code Red, which was to mess up with the Avengers and whatnot. And also, he was able to take down the Hulk very easily and took his place and to be part of the Avengers for a little while before he started screwing them over for his own needs. And not only that, his characteristics was very spot on, and I really loved every scene of Red Hulk, because he was able to not only beat the Hulk, but also Thor as well. And if you can beat up a god, then you're almost untouchable. This guy could have been very out of character and very corny and also very laughable. But thanks to the show, they made Baron Zemo an intimidating character considering he has this laughable costume. But in a weird sense, it kind of works for him that way. And not only that, he was pretty much the poster boy of the Masters of Evil, and he had such a grudge with Captain America that was very gripping and also incredibly interesting. Not to mention, he was able to take down most of the Avengers with the help of the Masters of Evil, of course, and he was pretty much successful with half the stuff he was able to do, thanks to his group. And speaking of the Masters of Evil, The Enchantress is by far the best female villain to ever appear onto Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and for good reason too. Not only was she smart, but she was able to pretty much assemble the Masters of Evil, while making Baron Zemo think that he's pretty much the mastermind, when even though she wasn't even a mastermind herself. Spoiler alert. Not to mention, she was also powerful enough to take down the first wave of Avengers, and she even got the abilities to become like a flame demon, like Sorcerer, which would have been very interesting to see where it would have went with her for the following seasons to come. But again, you got the people to blame for cancelling such a perfect show that we have. The Red Skull was such a successful villain throughout the first 2 seasons. From the first season, he was able to kill Bucky, as well as cause a lot of trouble for Captain America during the Second World War. Not to mention, he became the President of America in the second season, and he was pretty much the creator of the Winter Soldier, and that was done so well. I really enjoyed the story arc that they've done between the 2 characters of Bucky and the Red Skull. It was very emotional, gripping, jaw-dropping, and the Red Skull is such a good antagonist for the entire show. I forever regretted putting Loki so low on the original list, and for that I pretty much put him high onto this new countdown, and for good reasons too. For starters, he was pretty much the one that assembled the Avengers in the first place from under the shadows, and he also pretty much manipulated the whole first season by pretty much ruling all of the 9 realms and gaining the Odin Force, pretty much overpowering all the Avengers and isolated them throughout the 9 worlds, and pretty much made them all hopeless and powerless. Not to mention the fact that he was portrayed so great that he was so enjoyable to watch on screen. My only real complaint though is that we don't really get much of his sympathetic side. However, you can't really complain considering he was done so well as a villain in general. Here we have the vanilla Ultron, which is before we had all the personality that James Spader has wonderfully done for Age of Ultron. Back on hand though, we have pretty much one of the most dangerous villains the Avengers have ever faced throughout the series. He was able to create the Vision in the second series, he infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., hacked into their systems, hacked into Iron Man's armors, and he was almost successful in beating the Avengers on both accounts if it weren't for getting outsmarted and what have you, as well as the betrayal of Vision that happened in the second season. Also, his ever-evolving body was always so great to watch, especially his final form in the second season, which is what you see right now. It's very heavily inspired by the Annihilation version, and it's really good to see. I am still lost for words how this character of Doctor Doom was done so flawlessly. From his voice to his personality, and even his powers were done right, especially how they established Latveria of all things, something that most versions of Doctor Doom always fail to establish. Also, we can't forget how he was able to beat both the Avengers and Fantastic Four within ease, and then just let them go right after. And he was also one of the very first characters to know about the Skrull invasions. And he pretty much was going to be set up to become a major player in the 3rd season, which would have been really amazing if we had more screen time with Doctor Doom. His time may have been short, but it was very worth the wait. So this concludes the top 15 greatest Earth's Mightiest Heroes villains roster of all time. I hope you all enjoyed the video. All likes, comments and subscribes are very appreciated, as long as it's feedback or whatnot. And thanks for watching, and my next project will probably also be a countdown.